Now, hear me out. Just make her a child. Alright, so there have been rumors a while ago about a possible remaster of one of the greatest games of all time, shut up, Sonic 06. Not long after the release of Sonic X Shadow Generations, which has been a pretty huge success, especially for Sonic standards. So much, in fact, that when the news broke out, the reaction of the community, which would have previously been full of negativity and arguments, were actually pretty open to the idea. And we know that Sega does listen to us a lot, sometimes even too much, so eventually it would come to life anyways. But how would it really go? Will it be faithful, or would the formula change? Even so, would that be good? Would that be bad? Would the story change? All we could do right now is talk about our own wishes and experiences with the game. And that is what I'm gonna do, even though I never really played the game. Sonic 06 was actually my favorite Sonic game ever for a while, when I was a kid. The story seemed so deep, and the cutscenes, especially Sonic's, were amazing, and every character, except Elise, was charming, and some like Silver, Shadow, and Mephiles really left a huge impression on me. I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and that everybody would agree. And nobody agreed. Because turns out the game was actually broken, the story made no sense, and beep bop boop bop, you already know the rest. So now that I grew up and played most of the Sonic games now, I decided it was time to try it out finally. Through Project 06 with the lowest quality ever because my PC is so old it could barely play Twilight Princess on Dolphin without bombing my apartment. And through my extremely dieted experience of one of the best video games ever again, shout out to Chaos X, I'm talking for real this time, I absolutely love it. I wouldn't put it over SA2, but I can say that I like it just as much as SA1 easy. And that's me playing on my washing machine of a computer. I can't imagine how it would feel like playing it on a playable PC, I really can't. Project 06 is truly a masterpiece. So knowing that this is my only experience with the game, this would also be what I'll base my thoughts and ideas, so buckle up because I'm starting with the gameplay because this section will be really quick. For the gameplay, I feel like Chaos X already got everything figured out. I can express my thoughts on the original game, but every character feels good to control in Project 06, except for Silver. Again, it may be because I haven't played the original or I'm just ass at the game, but Silver's moveset is kinda confusing. Sometimes some objects just wouldn't get picked up, or I would pick some objects but I can't pick more after. But maybe that keeps it from being overpowered, so I get it. But Silver's movement is also slipperier than the others, which is alright since he is slower. It just can be kinda hard for platforming, especially in Crisis City. If I had to change something about the gameplay, it would simply be to make Sonic controls more accurate to the Adventure series, and change Silver's moveset a bit, and then go to the Project 06 route through and through. I have never tried or played any of Sonic 06's bosses, so y'all could leave your ideas on the comments.
What? His shadow.
Oh, how ironic fate can be. I would never have believed I would be resurrected through your shade.
When you really think about it, there isn't that much of a problem with the game's story in theory. In fact, I would say it's pretty great. The only problem is that most of the story's problems, other than the time traveling not making a lot of sense, resides in Sonic's story. Shadows is considered one of the best, if not the best, it's ever been, if you don't count SA2. His character peaked here, and his back and forth with his team and Mephiles is amazing.
It's so unfair. Shadow's always here to defend the world. Despite that,
eventually, when something or someone is seen as too powerful, it is seen as a threat. And then the world becomes its enemy.
Shadow? Even if you believe everyone in the world will be against you, know that I'll always remain by your side. Remember that.
I will.
It's futile. The world will betray you. Why fight at all? Why risk your life for those who will persecute you later?
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
Silver's story is not perfect, but as an introduction, it's pretty interesting. A hedgehog that comes from a doomed future and comes back to the past to try and save it by actually killing the main character is a raw twist on Trunks' story from Dragon Ball Z. Never mind the fact that Silver is just a lovable, interesting character. There is a reason that some people may know him better than characters like Knuckles and Tails, despite how absent he's been in the series since its debut.
So this is where you are. I've been looking for you. What's wrong?
Well, Blaze? To kill someone to save the world. Is that really the right thing to do?
You're so naive. Whether it's right or wrong, I can't really say. But what I do know is, if we don't take this chance, the future will remain exactly as it is.
Since he's after Dr. Eggman, let's sneak into Eggman's base. Maybe we'll learn something new.
The real problem comes from Sonic's story again, and more importantly, Elise.
Wow, that's a pretty snazzy performance there.
Now, this will be my biggest point. I don't like this girl. As we all know, Sonic is a static character. He doesn't develop, which is why you always need someone or something to be involved in the story. Alderboy has a very good video on this matter, so go watch that to get what I mean. Then come back, please. So when the character involved with Sonic is ass, well, by proxy, Sonic's story is not going to be great, because he's going to be stuck with this character through the whole game. And this is what happened here. The problem is that Elise's story as a whole is not bad, because without it, Shadow's and Silver's story wouldn't exist either, because all of them deal with a part of Solaris. Shadow deals with its mind and consciousness, Silver handles its raw strength and power, and Sonic is stuck with its host, the key to the flames of disaster. And that just happened to be the most boring of all of them. Aside for her backstory, there's really nothing much going on with her that is interesting. Sure, she has to deal with responsibilities that were imposed to her at a young age, but that really isn't explained very well. But they tackle this problem with this weird, soul-fillist, cornier than ever relationship that just scars children and end up being the poster of gaming news journalists to this day. Never mind the fact that she gets kidnapped 5 different times in one singular game, which adds the title annoying to her description and complete the formula for one of the cast's most hated characters. I still like her more than Deadly Six though, but that's another subject. So how do you fix that without completely rewriting the story? Well, I think it's pretty simple, actually. Hold up. Let me explain. Not like that. Remember that Sonic X episode where Sonic helps a handicapped girl and it was extremely wholesome and it is recognized as one of the series' best episodes? Yeah, just do something like that. Make the Solaris incident happen a bit sooner. Not like she needs to understand what he said anyways. She wasn't even conscious when he told him that. Make Silver leave the baby to a survivor of the blast or something, I don't know. Heck, leave her on the ground. Her cries when she will eventually wake up might get everyone's attention anyways.
Okay, side note, this part is completely wrong. Silver already left Elise on the ground without anyone's help. So, yeah, and also, if I forgot that, if Elise cries, then Solaris would be released. So maybe you can change that rule. That rule was stupid anyways. It didn't make any sense. So maybe you can change that rule. Again, we'll see later. I don't know.
And then like 10 to 12 years later, 06 happens. Everything would be the same except Sonic's moments with Elise would look more akin to Shadow and Maria's than Brian and Jillian's. For the infamous kiss scene, just replace that with, I don't know, Elise crying on Sonic's chest or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's weird what I'm saying. He can even drop on his lips. I don't know. The point is that a child's tears is what brings Sonic back from the dead, which will reinforce this image of heroism he already has. Sure, there are still going to be a lot of plot holes and stuff that wouldn't make sense, but these would mostly be problems the game already had. We'll cross that road when we get to it. I may try to rewrite 06 anyways, as an idea, maybe. After all that is done, we just need to redo the cutscenes and not use the modern cast. In fact, if they could cast the 4Kids era voices, it would be great. But if not, well, a couple of bad lines that would truly hurt us anyways. Speaking of, now as hated as 06 is, we can't ignore the part of the community that actually liked the original game. I'm actually one of these people, even though I never actually played it, and I feel like this part is growing every day. So what could they do? Well, fortunately, Sega is not the best at preserving their old games. There are still mainline titles that aren't accessible to this day. Free Heroes, I beg of you, they did nothing wrong. And when they eventually remaster a game, they delist the original right before. They couldn't even add the classic titles of the classic Sonic games in the classic mode. It's in the name. How do you screw this up? But knowing all that, and add the fact that the game in question is this time is one of the most hated in the series that led the franchise to their downfall, it is safe to say that there is a low chance that there would even be a way to play the original. All I can really say is that when the time comes for the announcement, or heck even right now, we must let Sega know how much preservation is important. We do know that they listen, even if it may be wishful thinking. If it's loud enough, we may have a chance. I mean, they found a way to preserve generations. But I won't lie, don't get your hopes up. I feel like by now, the community knows that 06 was never fundamentally a bad game. It was a beautiful project gone terribly wrong due to terrible time and staff management. But the beauty of this IP is that it could come back from the dead as many times as possible. Heck, they're even allowed to produce something 2 times worse than 06, again, following it with a lackluster title after a 4-year hiatus. And it's still alive to this day. We can also not forget the absolute blessing and curse this community can be. Again, this whole idea and vision wouldn't even be possible if it weren't for Chaos X's incredible talent and Sega's leniency on the IP for us to make games in the first place. If Sonic was an IP owned by Nintendo, I promise you it would have been in the same trenches as F-Zero and Star Fox right now. And with Sonic being back on track and stronger than ever in both the game and media format, I think it's safe to believe that if they ever announce an eventual remaster, there is no need to worry that much about the game's quality. So in the great word of the king of the bees, Charmy Bee, don't worry about it. Except if Sonic Racing Crossroads ends up being trash and the next mainline Sonic game takes all the wrong points from Sonic and Shadow Generations and the fourth movie flops. If that happens, pack your bags. And also, where the fuck is Sonic Rumble at?